This is your host, Sophie, from Awakenings with Sophie, where we take a modern spin on healing old wounds. Every week, we have a guest on our show tell us what's going on in their life that they're struggling with, and then I give them coaching guidance on how they can work through this and heal it, in hopes that it may inspire somebody else out there to do the healing work and get the freedom that their soul is longing for. But before we get started, let's hear the magic medicine quote of the week. And this week, our quote is from Sharon Maharez in her book, Modern Psychology and Ancient Wisdom. And I love this. The sacred marriage of psychology and spirituality encourages us to experience healing across a wider spectrum and deeper range than that afforded by either discipline alone. Blending psychology and spirituality, according to Maharez, allows us to do this inner transformational work to help the spirit and ego create a healthy space in which to coexist. So I am really into the blend of spirituality and psychology, as our guest, Jacque, may know. I do this deep healing work with my clients, and we go through a 4-phase process: recognize, release, reprogram, and radiate. We need to recognize and identify the real issue before we can actually release the energy. But once we release it, we then reprogram this space. We can radiate the truth of our being. And now let's dive into our metaphorical healing hut as we welcome our guest. Welcome, Jacque.
Hi, thank you, Sophie. It's really good to be here.
Yeah, so tell me what you would like to look at and work on today, and we'll just dive right in.
I work full-time, and I teach high school. And I'm in a vortex of 14-year-old energy all day long. As I go, at the end of the day, I've got little left for my personal life, I feel like. I meditate in the morning. I have discourse with my housemate, who's a fellow, who's an artist and on a parallel warrior goddess path. We journal. I have all these practices, and the classroom is set up really well. And then even being mindful of my energetic boundaries, I come home and I'm just, bleh.
What do you feel like is the biggest problem?
Not feeling like I have energy to do what I want to do between 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock p.m.
Okay, and what do you want to do between 4 and 7?
I want to cook myself a healthy meal. I want to do a couple chores around the house. I want to walk in the woods with my dog, which always happens. And I just want to have some vitality and not feel like it's like Hot Wheels City. The streets fold up at 8 here. I'm pushing hard to get through the day, as opposed to being really connected. And it's kind of like the energy builds through the school day, and then the last 90 minutes with a room of 34 teenagers is a lot it's kind of like my energetic boundaries just get permeated and zapped.
Mm-hmm. So by the end of the day, you feel a lack of energy to actually do the things that you would like to do.
Correct.
And you would like to turn that around.
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing we have to look at is like your natural rhythm. Are you a morning person or an evening? You're a morning person. Okay. So we might need to look at your expectations of your own self in the evening, because they may be different than in the morning. If you're a morning person, and that's where you have this natural flow of energy moving through you, you can get a lot done. Do you wake up really early?
Yes.
And so you are probably having expectations of yourself to be as productive in the evening as you are in the morning.
That's true. And I feel like I shouldn't. That's an interesting catch there. I feel like I should have, a good another 2 or 3 hours of vitality. And I would like I would like more vitality in that last segment of my waking hours, just to be present and engage.
And what do you find yourself doing instead?
Napping, reading, and avoiding chores, and distracting myself. Social media a little bit.
Okay. So you are doing practices that may restore you instead of spend your energy at that time. So like the napping is a way to get your energy back. The reading is a way that you fill up. The zoning out with social media can be fine. It's neutral. It's what we make it. But there may be like a pulling back that happens after you've been serving all day long. It's like you retreating back now to then have to serve yourself through chores and through other things that may be great for you. Maybe we could shift the expectation on that and kind of reroute where we do some of these things so you can get in better rhythm with your actual rhythm.
Okay.
And it almost seems like the expectation of being so productive in the night could be the issue. Perhaps
because I'm critical of myself because I'm like, God, you're so lazy. And when if I think about it, I haven't been laying around reading all day. I've been going since 4:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. So at 4:30 in the afternoon, just to hear, reflecting on the way that you just said it, at 4:30 in the afternoon, 12 hours later, it's reasonable to need to decompress a little bit.
Right. And then looking into that self-talk. That's
a big one.
That's sounds a little bit unsupportive.
A little more than a little bit often.
Yeah. And so it's like that self-love becomes a huge topic. So I'm loving myself by taking a nap, but then I'm bullying myself by saying you're lazy, or maybe bullying isn't the right word, but I'm putting myself down and just focusing on what doesn't measure up in the moment. Like that, this is all that comes from the practice of self-neglect or self-rejection or self-fighting, self-attack. Mm-hmm. And those things may be coming up to your consciousness because you're really ready to take them to the next level.
Well, let's elevate.
Yeah. So it's like learning how to love yourself, I think is really going to be your next horizon that I would like you to explore. Okay. Like, what does self-love really look like? Now, self-love and self-care are two different things. Okay. Right? So self-care is like the doing, and self-love is the being. Okay. And so we do a lot and we think, oh, if I do, then I am. But that's not how it works. We are because we are. The being state is not from an action.
True.
So when you start looking at your self-love practices, it comes down to like the frequency. Are you sitting in a frequency after you get home from school and you've been up for 12 hours? Are you sitting in a frequency of acceptance and allowance and restoration? Or are you sitting in a frequency of judgment and depletion?
A little more of the latter. Yeah.
Okay. So you might have picked up a lot of those energies throughout your day.
I feel that that's also true, knowing that I'm an empath and I'm clairaudient and pretty intuitive when it comes to working with this age group, because I have for over 2 decades. And so I do pick up on those energies, and I bring home some bratty, I'm not good enough, or like, you're ugly, you look like crap. at the end of the day. I pick up some of that energy and I'm just like, I'm just blob.
Yeah. And so what it needs to become is having like a clearing.
Yeah.
So what do you do being an empath? What are some of your practices to clear your energy?
I smudge my house and I smudge myself a couple times a week. I'm always armed with the right crystals at any given time. I practice aromatherapy. I have a diffuser in my classroom as well as in my bedroom. And I meditate 20 minutes twice a day. The clearing, I feel like if I can clear some of the vibrational misalignment, or just like it just feels janky at the end of the day.
Residue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like some Windex for the energetic residue.
Right. And having some sort of something that really helps you clear that. So like, I know for me, at the end of the day, when I've been seeing clients all day long, I really enjoy going on a walk with my dog.
Me too.
I feel like the walking and the connecting with earth, even though I have shoes on, the fresh air, just everything about it, I feel like really helps me cleanse a lot of the energy that I may have picked up through the day. So that's like a big part of my routine, and it's also good for my dog and it's good for my family, and it serves a lot of purposes. But I can definitely tell the difference on a day where I don't take my dog for a walk after I've had, anywhere from 4 to 7 clients. And I sit down on the couch at the end of the day after I've given my daughter a bath and it's all done. I can feel a difference in my frequency from just that little piece of taking a walk or not.
Okay. So
the walk for me is an energetic cleansing because it allows me to like restore my natural vibration. And what do they say for crystals? If your crystal gets clogged, what is one of the most powerful ways to cleanse it and recharge it? Get it outside.
Get it outside. Full moon, sunshine, bury it in the earth.
Yep. Yeah. And so why not practice those same exact things for ourselves? Let's get our crystal outside.
Okay.
And I think being really mindful too, because a lot of it's just intention work, right? So a lot of being out there on that walk after you get home from school to really cleanse and have maybe even a mantra. I release any energies that I've picked up today that are not mine. Okay. And I ask the highest point of light to fill those spaces with love, balance, and purity.
Awesome. Okay.
Or whatever mantra would work. But that, in terms of working with crystals, which I know you're passionate about as well as I am, a lot of your relationship with a crystal is asking it to hold an intention for you. Yeah. And being very clear on what that looks like, and then having the crystal hold that. So why wouldn't it work with our being as well? If a crystal can hold that, so can our body as well. Right.
And what just popped into my head was I could make more use of my clawfoot bathtub with crystals in it. Crystal infused baths are great.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. So then going back to the expectations that I should be doing it different at night, right? What can we transform that into?
You mean how could I spend the time differently, or how can I restate the intention?
So you have an expectation that's leading you to struggle. And then it leads you to self-condemn. And this is sometimes what expectations can do. So the expectation is I should be more productive after work. But the truth is that I'm a morning person, and by the time I get home from work, I don't have a lot more to give. But I expect 3 more hours out of you of production. So there's a expectation and a relationship and a frequency there that doesn't feel good. So no wonder you're falling asleep in your meditation. You're like, let me get a break from this expectation for goodness sake.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. So relinquishing those expectations. And I also have to recognize that I'm very sensitive to the change in the seasons, as well as the daylight saving time change. And whereas I used to get home at 4 and have a good couple of hours of daylight to enjoy the woods before it gets cold, or cold by California standards. But just, dimming, the day closes down, and now that happens at, 4:30, and I feel like I'm rushing to enjoy the last, the waning hours of daylight. So I think just being more mindful that that's happening. I know of myself that it takes me a while to adjust to time and season shifts.
And, again, it's like going with it. So until, Congress passes whatever, where we get rid of daylight savings, because I know I'm going to start whatever that thing is called, where you go up to people's doors and get signatures.
Yeah.
I'm with you 100%. I think that the season changes and the time changes can be really difficult.
Yeah.
However, there's also an option that we have in us. Are we fighting what is? Or are we going with what is?
Mm-hmm.
And getting into that, that frequency of how can I just go with what's trying to come through? So rather than rushing or fighting against how much light is left, or the temperature or whatever it is, which we cannot control, really asking from your higher spiritual perspective, how can I grow into a higher version of myself in this? So you start to look at the thing that you find challenging as a way to grow, or something trying to emerge through you in it. And you start that conversation. So now you're not saying, oh man, I wish there was more light. You're saying, oh, Spirit, what would you like me to do in this super dusky walk in the woods?
That's a good point. Check in with Spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. Give Spirit a chance to be working with you with every moment of your world. I think that's part of what being a spiritual life coach is, is that, you allow Spirit in. If I had to break that down to one description, it's that. The difference between a life coach and a spiritual life coach is that we let Spirit into our thought, our body, our decisions, and our intentions.
Yeah.
Every step of the way. And so sometimes just remembering that. So tell me what you're taking away from today.
What I'm taking away from today is to loosen the reins a little bit in terms of trying to control or change how I feel, as opposed to just being in the flow of the moment and checking in with appreciation for everything that I've done in the day, and then giving myself, a nurturing reward at the end of the day by not rushing, checking in with Spirit, expressing gratitude for all, the abundance of love that was generated, given and received, and then cutting myself a break.
Giving yourself some recognition too.
Thank you.
I work hard. I work very hard.
Yeah. You're right.
If I need to fall asleep during my meditation, then I'm going to give it to myself, because, one of the things I love that I heard a teacher say along the way is that if you fall asleep during meditation, good, because then your body's taking what it really needs and you're supplying the space for it to do that.
Yeah. And I have a beautiful meditation space. And so sometimes your psyche and your body just wants to, needs time to soak it up more.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being willing to open your world to us.
Thank
And
you.
yeah.
Now it's time for the crystallization. This is the space I hold so that the crystal kingdom can send us a message. The crystal of this episode is
Magnesite, which is actually what I'm wearing right here. It's like a pink marbled stone. And the meaning of the Magnesite is it is the stone of the brain-heart connection. It's one of the most powerful stones for activating the third eye and crown chakra. It can help you with self-reflection and carries inner seeing. It is a modern emotional healer because of its magnesium content and aids the emotional and physical body to relax, release, and dissolve blockages that need to control, manipulate, or overpower others. Wearing the stone helps to awaken the mind to communicate with the heart. It doesn't activate the heart chakra, but rather stimulates the part of the brain mind that can hear and respond to the heart's voice. When the heart speaks, however, it's not in words, but in yearnings and desires. If you use this bracelet meditation, just ask the heart what to do and allow the teeny feelings to reveal themselves to you. So that is our message from Magnesite, which is also in my mala. And it's just such a pretty pink. It's these beads up here. I love to do Magnesite with quartz and rose quartz. I feel like they're just a really beautiful, soft component. So get your Magnesite on, connect that heart and mind, and listen to the heart.
And now let's drop in for our Awaken question of the week.
As I move more and more into my spiritual awakening, I find that I want more alone time. My social circle and friends are perceiving this as isolation, but I am at peace. How can I move through this experience? And Jacque, I think we can all relate to this space.
I was like, oh, I could have written that one.
Yeah. So what I call this is incubation. So as you're in your spiritual awakening, you may have points in time where you need to go into your incubator. And it's not bad. It's not isolating. It's incubating. It's allowing yourself the proper environment to digest and rest and recover so that you can be strong to move more into your soul purpose. Incubation periods can be all sorts of time. They could be anywhere from like an hour break during the day to a 3-month pull away from your social group. I encourage you, if you are going through an incubation period, to just be really mindful and check in with yourself and know what you need. And, try to explain it to your friends if they are interested and or concerned. So let's call it incubation rather than isolation. I hope that answers our question of the week. And that's all I have for you guys this week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Awaken with Sophie and DM me any of your spiritual questions for the chance for them to be answered on our next episode. Use hashtag AwakenFam so we can see how you are awakening. Until next time, keep turning those obstacles into opportunities, my loves. Namaste.